write down any of your questions. So our first question is, what is your favorite material, designers, to utilize for kitchen countertops? And I wanted to start with Kourtney on that one.
So I always like to start with natural stone over a man-made. And I always recommend to my clients first and starting off with a marble, just because it's so beautiful. There's lots of character and depth to a marble, but it's not for everybody. It's good to be informed about, you know, how to care for it and maintenance. So, but we always start there. And if it's not for them, we kind of scale back to quartzite. And quartzite is still, it's not as porous as marble, but you still, it requires maintenance. I'm sorry, it's not as soft as marble, but it still requires maintenance. So, yeah. And then after that, of quartzite, if they don't want to go with the natural stone, we go to quartz, and quartz is a man-made. And it's basically sediment mixed, compressed with the resin, which is, it burns easily. Because the resin acts as a plastic. So we kind of just go through those tiers. And I like to mix both. I like to use marble, you know, on the island, and then on the perimeter, you could do something that's quartz, which is more durable to kind of balance out, you know, whether it's cost or durability. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you. Does anybody else, Michelle or Laura, did you want to chime in?
We kind of approach it from the standpoint of asking the right questions to our clients. So it's, you know, what type, how do you use your kitchen? Do you entertain a lot? Do you have a slobby husband? Like that kind of thing. And it's really important too, to make sure they have all the facts. So we kill them with communication when it comes to, okay, marble is porous, and marble is porous because it has huge deep pores. And we have samples that clients take home. I'm like, I don't care, red wine, mustard, slather it on, leave it on overnight, test it out. Because if you are one of those people that like a pristine kitchen every day, then maybe marble is not the right material for you. I mean, I love it and I like to see a patina, but, you know, explain that to, you know, a husband that comes home and there's a big streak of, you know, smear that won't, that won't, that will be there permanently unless you get it professionally cleaned. So asking the right questions and understanding the client's lifestyle, I think, is really important, and their expectations.
Perfect. Great answer. Thank you so much. Okay, so for our next question, if Laura, did you want to chime in on that, or are you okay?
I would just like to chime in that marble is some of the most beautiful stone that you will ever see. And I love it. And I love it when it does its little patina. But I do think these are all really great points. But I have so many clients who are just like, it's fine. We'll just let it kind of etch and age, and it just kind of becomes its own living surface. So that was all I had to say about that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, it is very beautiful.
Yeah.
And so the second question is, can metal finishes such as copper, bronze, nickel be mixed in your kitchen, like in relation to cabinet hardware, faucets, and lighting? What your thoughts are on that? Laura, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
We definitely mix finishes all of the time, metal finishes. I have a lot of clients that feel like, you know, is that okay? And I always tell them, we think of metal like a color. So if we're using one or two and we're kind of spreading that color around, and one of that color, say it's an orangey color like a copper, ends up in a light fixture, and you have silver everywhere else, it's perfectly fine.
I think it's all about balance. And I think it's okay to pick and choose which finishes you want to use, and not to use everything everywhere, but make sure your colors are balanced and proportioned throughout. And a lot of clients ask about stainless steel, and can I do brass with stainless? And I think stainless is something that's just kind of a standard in kitchens sometimes. So it can kind of just goes away. I just tell my clients, just don't even consider that as one of your metal finishes. But definitely, I think you shouldn't be afraid to mix, as long as it's balanced and you're not, you know, it's not overkill.
Excellent. Michelle, did you have anything to add?
I
or-
just think that those are all
Okay.
really. good
No, I
points.
loved, I think those
Yeah, those are
answers,
all
I
really, really good
agree,
points.
100%. And I think you're right about stainless. I think that's
I was just gonna say, stainless, definitely, you can almost think of it as just a neutral.
like a
right?
palette. Yeah.
Right, it's
a
just
neutral, yeah.
it's a neutral and you can jump off from there with just about anything. So often, even though it is a finish and it is a metal finish, we'll have stainless, we might have copper and we might have brass. And again, it's just where you're putting it and making sure that you're spreading it all around, and making it very cohesive.
Mhm.
So it just becomes part of the palette.
Great answer. Thank you. So the next question is, what are the best ways to brighten a kitchen that has no windows or direct natural light? Like if there's windows at the other end, like maybe a galley kitchen, or if it just happens to be a kitchen that doesn't have any windows. Okay, Michelle. Yay.
Sometimes lightening up the space with something, like maybe lighter colors or finishes will help open up a space.
Perfect.
You can kind of always use a guide where like people wear darker colors because they may be living.
Right.
And a room is the same way. Sometimes rooms will look smaller if finishes are really dark. So definitely lightening up finishes. And then, this kind of gets into lighting, but having an array of lighting, whether that be functional lighting that is like your cans and decorative lighting, which be your pendants or a chandelier or sconces, under cabinet lighting, all that I think helps create a mood, but helps open up a space.
Great answer. Yeah. Thank you. Kourtney or Laura?
I would also recommend, if you really don't have great light, sometimes a glossy finish on
Oh,
your, cabinets or your counters will almost act like a mirrored effect.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we'll
great
take
point.
whatever light is in there and sort of bounce it around. And so that can help too.
Perfect. Now, Kourtney, did you have anything to add to that or?
I think just choosing the proper color and also with cabinets, taking them up to the ceiling if possible, because then
Oh,
it creates
great
less
point.
shadow. So yeah,
Ah.
it'll feel larger and brighter.
Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, and then the next one is, what is one thing you should splurge on when remodeling a kitchen? What do you think is like really that if you're going to put your money in that direction, what do you think is the best splurge? Oh, Kourtney.
If you use your kitchen, I definitely think your appliances are a good splurge. And then next would
Good
be going for the beautiful countertops, because it's the surface in front of you. It really will make the kitchen, and it's what you're working on. It's what you'll feel. It's what you'll see. And maybe a coffee bar, nice little coffee bar. That'd be my
Lovely.
particular.
Perfect. Anybody else?
I often will splurge on a really nice light fixture,
Oh,
something really cool over the island. Definitely agree with the countertops. I mean, that's just a surface that's all over the kitchen. And if you can upgrade those, I think you'll always be really happy. And we have clients that sometimes will do a baking zone, the coffee bar. So anything that that you will use and love.
The specialty areas.
Yeah, the specialty
Mhm.
areas.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. How about you, Michelle? Did you have anything to contribute?
I think wherever you have a focal point is where I might spend more money, whether it be like an accent tile or a great range hood, beautiful lighting. But then like really splurging, if like money was no object and I could do whatever I want.
Yeah, do it.
It would be an auxiliary or secondary kitchen, which in Europe they call a scullery.
Oh,
That's where
awesome.
all the dirty stuff happens. So,
Yeah.
it's, if you were blessed enough to have a caterer, that's where they'd stage. But on an everyday basis, it's where you can blow up and have a mess. And then
Right.
your girlfriends come over and think you're the most tidy person ever. But really, the real mess happens behind the scenes. And if you have the room, that's a lovely place to also, kind of back up as a butler's pantry or a food pantry. So that would be.
Oh, I love that
big
answer.
splurge.
No, I have a client once who put in a utility sink, like right kind of around the corner. And that was her favorite thing that she added to the kitchen, because she said she could do all of her kind of work in there. And then her sink, she could just kind of almost stage her sink. You know what I mean? Like she could stage it. So that was one of the things. That's a great answer. Thank you. And then our next question is a backsplash a must in a kitchen? Must you have a backsplash? Or can you get away with not having one?
Does anybody want to answer?
I think if you use your kitchen, a backsplash is a great idea.
That's exactly what I was
I've
going to
definitely
say.
had like chili explosions and appreciate my backsplash for
Perfect.
repeatability. But it's a way for you to get personality in your kitchen, but let alone just like overall protection.
Excellent.
Function.
Perfect. No, I love that answer. Anybody else, Kourtney or Laura?
I mean, yeah, if you use your kitchen, definitely, it's a huge, huge functionality.
Okay, so you would
Feature.
say that's
Mhm.
definitely a must.
Yeah, yeah. But again, I mean, it's another layer in the kitchen that will elevate the space.
Excellent. Oh, I love that. Okay, excellent. And then what cabinet finishes do you think are most advantageous? Painted, stained, or mixed? I know that we've been seeing a lot of, we have painted has been so popular and we're
Mhm.
seeing people move a lot more towards stained. What are your thoughts on that?
The one thing I would say about painted cabinets, and I love painted cabinets, and we mix and match all the time, painted and stained. The painted cabinets sometimes will wear a little quicker than a wood stained cabinet. You know, you can get little chips and little dings. You know, usually you will have some sort of a correction marker or a paint marker that you can keep up on that. But otherwise we'll do anything and everything. I have one kitchen that we've done the glass cabinets, which was the Scavolini. I don't know, maybe you don't have it in this reel, but we do glass cabinets too. So we'll mix and match everything.
Excellent. Great answer. Thank you. Anybody else, Kourtney or Michelle?
I think also with a painted cabinet, living in Michigan with our cool and cold
Mm.
winters and our hot humid summers, if you have a wood cabinet, there's a lot of fluctuation in its movement. So you can take pristine care of your kitchen, but those are things that you kind of can't control, other than making sure that the humidity in your house is at a standard. But you know, we don't live in San Diego, California, and we live here. So sometimes painted cabinets will just have to be a little more touched up. And
Yeah.
if you let your clients know, then that's not a problem. But there is
No, I love
more
that
to
answer.
see
And I've
with
experienced that,
blemishes.
yes, with clients and also setting that expectation with a client, I think is great in relation to seams and then shrinkage and expansion and such in relation to the paint. I love that. Kourtney, did you have anything to add to that or? No? Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Okay. And then the next one is, can you please explain the difference between full overlay and inset cabinetry? And I don't know if we have a partial. I know partial overlay is another one. Yeah, we have a partial on that. So just the difference in like when, if you go in and you're shopping for a cabinet and you're looking at cabinets and somebody says, do you prefer inset? Are you looking for a full overlay? Kind of, if you can just explain what the difference is.
That's the kitchen in the middle is an inset, and I think we have some cabinets in front. So really, you see a frame, the door is flush with the frame, but those pieces are separate. So I mean, they're lovely, they're uber custom, they're more expensive with most manufacturers, but you also lose a little space.
Mhm.
So you need to take that into consideration.
Great point.
But that would be the center. Anybody else want to talk about?
And this one here, which is your right, left.
Left,
At the bottom, that's a full overlay cabinet where it still has a frame, but the door lies right on front of the frame, so it's not inset in the frame. And actually up top is an inset, so you can kind of see the difference there. Not quite as custom, you know, a little bit more affordable. And if done right, it looks very nice. You know, you can get a nice tight fit between the two doors. And then we have a partial overlay at the very other side there, where you can see a little bit of the frame, but the door is still on top of the frame. So these are different options that, you know, we always explain to our clients as we're starting to design their kitchens. And we do a lot of mixing and matching. So again, there's a full overlay on the bottom and some inset on the top. It's a nice way to save a little money, add a little interest. So.
Yeah, I had a client that really wanted the inset cabinetry, but it was just out of their budget. So we picked one area and it was a feature wall that would be the inset and the rest of the kitchen was the full overlay. So it was a nice mix. They got what they wanted. They got the look. And it was, we kept it within their price range.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such a good, did everybody, well, we're going to save the questions till the end, but if you have any questions about it, we also have cabinets in the front and you're welcome to ask about that. I'm going to do your questions. Oh, Mike, thank you. Perfect. That's a great question. So the next question that we're going to have for the panel is, where is the best place to save money in your kitchen remodeling project? Like, and what do you go high end and where can you shop standard? So when you're putting a kitchen together for a client who's definitely budget conscious, what are the things that you say, this must be, something that you're definitely going to invest in, and then something that maybe you could kind of go standard, kind of what you were talking about in relation to the cabinets, like what you could do mixing the overlay with the inset and such.
I definitely think cabinets, because they're the heart of the kitchen. I definitely think that's where you should put a good investment in. And then really, lighting, I know it's a nice splurge, but you can get a look for less. Hardware, you can get a look for less. But definitely cabinets. I think that's really important that, you want it to last. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
We do get a lot of questions about whether people can paint their existing cabinets when they're doing a remodel. And we will do that every once in a while. I think there's this impression out there that it can be done and very easily and all the time. But we do have some criteria when it comes to that the existing cabinets have to be in really excellent condition. Obviously, very functional still with a functional floor plan. And then we work with somebody who has a really specific process, almost like a manufactured finish that they create for us. And they look fabulous, but it's not as big of a splurge as you might think, or a savings as you might think. You might spend 25 or 30 grand on new cabinets somewhere, and to repaint them would be about 10 grand. So it is a way to save, but it just has to be the very right situation.
That's a great answer. And I've worked with clients also who really wanted to paint and then ended up, sometimes they painted and then ended up with new cabinets anyways. So that the painting just didn't end up, and it's definitely green and such. And, and you'll have a painter we'll talk into, but it's the most functional moving area in your house. And so to repaint that isn't always advantageous.
It rarely happens.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
rarely the right situation.
I'm so glad you said that, honestly. And Kourtney or Michelle, anybody else to contribute?
I think to piggyback with painting cabinets.
Yeah.
If it's not your forever home and it's hard to justify brand new cabinets that you just might not like the finish of.
Yeah.
There's processes, there's amazing materials, there's like catalyzed lacquers instead of paint.
Right.
The whole
Great point.
process is significantly different. Like we'll have cabinets taken off site.
Right.
That kind of thing. That's the whole process, but you can never expect a factory finish
Right.
from a manufacturer. But that being said, if you're going to get a good 7 years out of cabinets and then you're on to your next house, or even a flip, because we help clients flip homes too
Heck yeah.
sometimes. It's not a horrible thing if they're in really good condition. The layout and the design's great, but just the finish isn't your cup of tea.
Oh, thank you so much for clarifying that, because you're right. If it's not your forever home, then it can be an option where you definitely can save more. But if it's your forever home and you're going to be there, thank you so much.
Just a suggestion, just not do it yourself.
Yeah.
The other thing too that we're seeing a lot more of, I know I am in my business, is people are concerned about sustainability in design. It's becoming a real kind of buzz topic in our world. And so that is one way of doing a nice kitchen redo with a sustainable mindset. Again, if the conditions are right.
No, but that's great because you brought it all the way around. You know what I mean? Like kind of starting with and then talking about the other aspects of it. Anything else that you think is an area where that you should definitely splurge or save? Anybody? Go ahead, Laura.
I also agree that the countertops are definitely a great place to splurge, but I do have a couple of granites that I think can work really nicely in a kitchen. I mean, we don't do a lot of granite typically because we don't love the way it looks. Some of it can feel a little dated, but there are a few that we like that we can put again on a perimeter where you can save some pretty good money there.
Perfect. Oh, that's a great answer. Excellent. And then for the next question, what are some kitchen design ideas that update your space that will be classic and stay stylish? Like if you're just going to do some updating. So something, not the avocado fridge, but you know, like something else that, even though avocado fridges, they are really cute, but something that's more kind of classic. If you're not going to do a whole kitchen redo, but you want to kind of do a refresh, what are things that you think are classic and would have staying power?
Maybe the most bang for your buck would be, and if you were on a really tight budget, like changing out of hardware.
Oh,
Especially
nice.
if you move into a house that's not your own, it's just kind of like dirty carpet.
Yeah.
You want your own jewelry.
Yeah,
That's
great
kind of
point.
a really easy thing, and it's also something that you can pick up yourself. And
Mhm.
if you get the right measurements, I mean, you can install yourself, and it could be a little weekend fun project. And then changing out lighting sometimes makes a really big impact, or you might not have the budget to remove your whole countertop, but maybe just updating the backsplash instead of the little 4-inch granite around your, perimeter
Excellent.
cabinets, having something special that's more your own.
Yeah, I like that. What about you, Kourtney? Anything that you?
I like Michelle's points.
Yeah, I
would
do too.
definitely agree. Those easy items that you can swap out, like lighting and hardware, if you can do that yourself, definitely. And I mean, a lot of older homes have the smaller splash, and I think removing that and going full with tile or a stone, I think would be a nice, easy way to update.
Perfect, perfect. Any other before I move into the next question? Okay, perfect. Then the next question is, do you prefer panel ready appliances or stainless? And what factors go into making that decision when you're working on a project? Do you prefer panel?
Yeah.
Laura, go ahead.
We like both options. So much of it is, again, just what the client is looking for, what kind of feel they want in their kitchen.
Mhm.
If they want something a little more casual, a little bit more industrial, we might stick with the stainless. If they want something a little more classic and traditional, we'll panel all day long. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but it's very much what the client is looking for the kitchen to feel like.
Perfect, great answer. Anybody else?
It's definitely a preference, just depending on what the clients like. Paneled, refrigeration, the dishwasher, refrigerator, freezer. I mean, those items, sometimes we just want them to go away. We don't want to see them like the dishwasher, and you just want a clean look at the sink. Same with refrigerator and freezer. So if you just want that clean look and not to see any of your appliances, I definitely think that's the way to go, but it's a preference. I mean, there's no one right way. And I think both are equally beautiful and depending on the setting.
Excellent. Michelle, did you have anything to
I
contribute to that?
agree. I will panel the world. So don't have one person that
I love that.
not always practical. I think it seems throughout the years, people's dishwashers seem to get fairly a lot of use. So, and you're grabbing your dishwasher handle with what hand sometimes.
Right,
So
great point.
that panel tends to get a lot of wear and tear. And I would say I would fight for it to be paneled if it's something you could see in direct line of sight. But if it's hidden on the backside of an island and the only person that really sees it is who's at it, then I would suggest possibly keeping that. It's just about balance, and I'm not going to ever live in your home, so it needs to work for you. But if I had my druthers, it would be whatever.
Perfect. And then with that said, how do you feel about counter depth fridges versus, are you just taking a temperature on? Do you all feel that counter depth fridges are?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. It's worth for the aesthetic to give up a little bit of space. Excellent, perfect. And then this last one, and actually this is personal because I happen to have a Bolero red kitchen in a bungalow. So it is a small kitchen, just prefacing that. Can you successfully paint or paper a small kitchen in bold and or dark colors? But please feel free to be frank, even though I do have a tiny red kitchen.
Definitely in our practice, we use a lot of color and a lot of pattern everywhere. So again,
Good.
it's going to be it's a lot of it is just what your personal preference is. But if you were asking me, I would do it. Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
yes,
Thanks,
yes.
Laura. Okay. How about Kourtney or Michelle?
I don't know. I think that do with what you love.
Yeah.
Who cares if your kitchen is small, truthfully, too? If it
Right.
functions for you, it doesn't truly matter. But maybe in a small space, less contrast.
Right.
Love color, but if you have really light tones with dark tones, maybe things start to get a little busy instead of more homogeneous.
Mhm.
That would be my only tip.
Right.
I agree. In a smaller space, you don't want to chop up the kitchen because I think overall then it's going to start to feel smaller. So I think definitely if you needed to paper, maybe do something that's, in a monochromatic scheme with your cabinets. That way you get the texture and the depth, but then you are kind of just still keeping with that, mindset of
Excellent.
keeping it open.
Perfect.
And I would piggyback on that too. We always, when we are doing a lot of pattern and a lot of color, we always do stick to a very tight palette. That's
Yeah.
what makes it successful.
Great.
And without feeling too chaotic. So tight color palette when you're doing that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you. That's great. Well, that's the end of the questions that I had, the formal questions. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up questions to the audience. And we also have an audience at home that's watching virtually. So if you have a question, if you can just ask the question, and then I'm going to repeat the question into the microphone just so it makes it easier for them to hear. And then we'll let our lovely panel answer. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Oh, perfect. What's your question? Oh, such a great question. The question was, how do you choose a cabinet manufacturer for your clients?
I think first it depends on their project and the budget and what they want to spend. And then I mean, we have relationships with different manufacturers that, we can interview a couple, but we definitely go through the question process of getting to know you and what your expectations are for the space. And we, make a recommendation based on who our network is and, what we think will be a best fit for your kitchen.
Perfect. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, great question. Can you guys talk about floor colorings and what you recommend and what you'd like to do in your projects, what you like to use?
Well, I think in the go ahead.
No,
No. I think in the Midwest, we tend to go towards a hardwood floor,
Mhm.
just where we live. I would just say no carpet.
Yeah. I'm
Else
agree.
to go.
Yeah, we'll do just about anything. No carpet. Hardwood is very popular here. It's a softer, surface underfoot. But again, we will have some of the humidity issues with hardwoods, so you might see some gaps in the winter. Always tile is always great. It's a harder surface underfoot, but easy to clean. So yeah, just about anything will go.
Okay, excellent. What do you
Yeah.
guys think about luxury vinyl?
I don't mind it in a commercial space. I'm not
Okay.
sure
Or a lower level.
or a lower level. Of
Okay,
course.
okay, great.
Yes,
Just
or
out
a
of
lower
curiosity, I know there's a lot of people who are utilizing that material.
Yes,
So-
I don't love it in the main space personally.
Okay.
in a residential.
Better and better
They are.
looking.
Okay.
But I think, now what's the big hot thing in our industry is engineered pre-stained, which back in the day sounded horrible, plastic Pergo.
Right.
He's from Pergo is here, but now they make amazing hardwood floors that are on a substrate that is engineered, so there's not as much movement, which is lovely. You can make sure your planks are now wider because there's not as much movement.
Nice.
And have control of the stain, have control over your schedule with your project, because you don't have floor guys running in and out of your house, taking up your house with very toxic smells for
Right.
days on end. And they're readily available price wise too, because it's it's a material that's getting more and more popular. So
Yeah,
there's more and
attainably
more
priced.
vendors
Yeah,
providing it.
sounds great. Did you have anything to contribute, Kourtney, or?
definitely agree with both these ladies. I think also depends on your space. What, you know, if you have a more open plan and you have wood floors running through, I mean, naturally, I wouldn't create a break at the kitchen. I'd let them run right through. So it's
Great point.
application depends on really your specific space.
Excellent. More questions? What's your question? Okay, and the question was, besides the three, besides the overlay and the inset and the partial overlay, what other characteristics do you look for in cabinets?
The material, I think what they're
Okay.
made out of. It can be made of almost anything now. So I think we spend our money in the areas that are used or seen the most. And then the size of the boxes, the width of the boxes that they actually, the thickness of the boxes, which you don't see, but someone like me who's 5'1", who's constantly on her countertops grabbing something on my top
Right.
shelves, need to have a solid box.
I totally agree. Anybody else? No? Okay, okay, perfect. Did you have another part to your question?
Okay, I looked this up. So statistically in America,
Okay,
depending on the manufacturer, it's 15 to 30% more. So it's a significant difference, which is why sometimes we get to use it sparingly.
You mentioned that you mix them successfully. When you do mix them, how do you mix them? There's certain areas that you do
I know in our practice, a lot of times we will do full overlay on the bottom cabinets and then we will do the inset on the top. Because that's kind of where your eye is going usually, kind of, you know, to the uppers. Any special, like you said, a feature wall. Sometimes if you're doing a big pantry wall, to do that inset is just gorgeous. So kind of picking what we call the money shots, you know, the focus point in a kitchen where you're just, it's definitely a feature is a great place. Often an island, we will not do it on an island because you don't really see much of the island usually.
great, great question. Thank you. What's your question? Laura. Laura. is the-
Is that you do use countertops. That isn't what you prefer. What do you prefer?
Okay, and then wait, I'm just gonna, so, the question was that in relation to countertops, you do use some quartz countertops. What quartz countertops do you prefer?
Actually, I think I had said that I have a couple of granites that we like.
Ah.
Yeah, but typically we are using a lot of quartz. So that's that man-made resin product that has the substrate in it, which is basically ground quartz that comes out of the earth. They chop it all up and they mix it with a resin. And so that makes a really nice, beautiful kind of impervious almost surface. So we use a lot of quartz and a lot of marble and a lot of quartzite.
However,
I hope
just
that
with
makes sense.
quartz, which is man-made, it doesn't do so well with heat. So someone who has the habit of taking a skillet and putting it right on your countertop, it's probably not the right material for you without a trivet or hot pot, hot.
Mhm.
Granite tends to be one of those surfaces that you can put a hot skillet on. I just finished a kitchen. It's actually up here, one of them, where the client said, I absolutely have to be able to put a hot skillet on the countertop. So we chose a granite for that.
There's a few pretty ones that aren't speckly.
there
And
are.
we call them
Mhm.
bank granites, like
Mhm.
granites that are at banks.
Yeah,
You're like, that's not attractive, but it works for that one.
There's
For
like 3
sure.
or 4 of them.
Right.
and what's your question? So the question was, what granites do you like to use?
Trying to think of the name. I'm trying to think of the name of the one that's just the flat black. Not Uba Tuba.
No, not a.
Not Uba Tuba.
Absolute.
Absolute
black
black.
one is really pretty.
Absolute black honed. And they do have some that are kind of swirly now, that
Yeah,
black
isn't
and
that a
white swirl.
tropic brown or something where
Yes.
it looks like a marble, it has a
Yes.
substrate of marble, it's a little flecky, but has really
Really-
light
Mhm.
veining of like light granite, graphites and a little tiny bit of bluey green.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I'm
how
sorry, I
tropic
don't
brown
know the names offhand. Fantasy brown, yeah.
Fantasy brown, it is,
It is.
Yeah.
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 Very nice. And in the back, we have a question back here. So that question was about the quartzite that she had expressed that her clients often use quartzite and then several different types of quartzite. Do you use quartzite and what colors and patterns do you like to use?
Well, I think quartzite is definitely a great alternative to a marble if your clients are, or my clients are afraid of, going with marble due to how soft it is and the maintenance involved. Because you can get that lighter white color and the similar type of veining, but it's more durable and more functional. So I definitely use it a lot.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Well, I mean, really, I think quartzite's a marble, but a few thousand
Right.
years older, so.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has
which
the
it is,
density
yeah.
And the, not as porous, right? So, but you do get that really pretty veining, and I've used Taj Mahal a ton.
Yeah, yeah,
Just light, airy, but yeah, no, quartzite's beautiful.
it
But
is beautiful.
surprisingly no different in price than a lot of marbles. So
Yes,
it's
Yeah.
definitely not a money saver, but yeah, I think it's lovely.
yes, less porous, still etches, but
Right.
but less porous and a different kind of stone. Perfect.
Absolutely. It's very dense. It's a very dense product.
It can still etch.
Which is why, just for, everyone who has kitchens, I tend to use with marbles and quartzites, a honed or leathered finish, just.
Oh, no, I
Yeah,
love that.
they-
And would you mind just explaining what etched means, just in case? I know, like what etching actually is or what it looks like or,
It's a stain,
okay,
right? But it tends to happen from an acidic product like lemon, or you could even have like an etching from a glass. And it's kind of clear. So it's not a stain.
right,
I don't know how to
So
explain
on a
it.
polished countertop,
Yeah.
basically, you would see, an area that lost its sheen.
kind of dull. So
Especially
it would
when you
almost be
have-
like a top coat on a nail where your top coat had come off.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah, yeah.
So, perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions? And your question? Oh, that's a great question. The question is that a lot of the wood cabinets, even when they say they're full wood, the center panel of the door is MDF for a painted cabinet. And also the audience member asked the question, if you were painting cabinets, how do you feel about a full MDF cabinet or a full MDF door? What's your opinion?
Well, I think they're great if they're painted, but you used sparingly because they don't do well with water,
Perfect.
if they get wet.
MDF can swell. So if you have a full MDF product and you have an area that isn't protected by its finish, over time, as it's exposed to water or any kind of liquid, it can literally swell and expand. Where wood won't do that quite as much. But I think for, an inset panel, that should be fine.
Perfect. And what's your question? Oh, great question. So if you were using a quartzite, the question was, if you were going to go up your backsplash with the quartzite, what are the challenges? Or, you know, do you have any ideas about a different way? Would you recommend it or?
I love it.
I think if it's
beautiful.
sealed, right, if you see, I mean, all natural stone should be sealed every few years, depending on how often your kitchen's used. And then obviously, if you did have an explosion of any kind, the sooner you wipe it up, the better. But that's less problematic than a tiled backsplash because of the grout.
I think it needs to be planned for fairly well ahead of time because a quartz is much thicker than a tile. So as you're putting that on the wall, you need to have your contractor aware of, you know, that it's going to be coming out an inch, inch and a quarter. Sometimes they're 3/4 of an inch thick, but you know, there needs to be some planning for that ahead of time. And that can be heavy. So you need to make sure that your installer knows what they're doing.
Great answer. Any other question or no? Okay. Oh, okay, perfect. Let's do that.
Yay.
What are the current trends with things, materials are used?
Good question. Did you want me to repeat that? Okay, perfect. So the question, it was a virtual question. Thank you. Thank you all for the virtual audience that we have out there. The question was, what are the trends on sinks and what are you seeing and what are you putting into clients' homes and what do you feel is maybe a new trend or something that you're finding that's extremely functional?
I use farmhouse sinks a lot, made of fire clay. They're handsome and seem to wear well. And everybody's very good about using grates at the bottom. But I have found an amazing hammered stainless commercial grade, but it's stunningly beautiful for people that want a glitzy kitchen. From a company called Thompson Traders. It's lovely.
Do
It has
tell.
worn very well, but it's like a hammered piece of jewelry. Really.
Yeah. And you said, what's the name of it again?
Thompson Traders.
Thompson Traders. Okay. Okay.
Like
Nice.
a little hidden secret. I think the price is really aggressive too.
Oh, excellent.
Stainless sinks, and you know, it depends on where you want your punch and how often you use your kitchen, because some people sadly don't use them much at all.
Right, right. No, I think a stainless sink can be super functional, especially a hammered or if they have an angel hair finish on them. So that in relation to splashing and such, it does it. You can keep it looking really clean but it can be really functional. What about anybody else?
We use a lot of the sill granite sinks.
I
So this is a product that is made again of granite chopped up or almost like a granite powder. And then again, it's put together with a resin and almost like a quartz countertop. They can have this really nice honed soft finish. It comes in several colors and they're very durable. They're really nice to match with your countertop. You can have this sort of really monochromatic look with all of the different colors that they offer. And they also tend to have a softer sound. So some people really don't love the sound of a stainless sink or a regular stainless that can scratch. These are really, just really durable. So we use a lot of that. Blanco and LK are the two manufacturers that we use quite a bit for those.
Excellent. And then I just had one question before that. In relation, do you find that you're doing more farmhouse sinks or you're doing more undermount in relation to the projects that you've been doing recently?
I would say it's a good 50-50 split.
50-50? Okay,
I love a
perfect.
farmhouse sink.
Okay, excellent. What about you, Kourtney?
Yeah, I've been doing undermount, but I have a client right now where we're doing a stone apron. So the countertop in that same material, the marble is running in front of the sink area.
Oh, that sounds really pretty.
So, but it's an undermount sink. So you kind of get that farmhouse.
Yeah. So you got kind of a
aesthetic.
fusion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But then it's
Oh,
an
that's so
undermount
nice.
sink. So it's a stainless sink. So it's functional. It's a full workhorse, and then it's a stone apron. So
Pretty.
aesthetically,
Oh, it sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, how exciting.
kind of
Thank you.
both.
And what about your question? Sorry about that. Okay. Great question.
I think if you use them, if you're going to actually work in your kitchen, and I think they're great. I have a client, like I just mentioned, that did one, and they use it and they love it, and it's very functional. So I don't think it's a trendy thing at all. It's more of a function. I think it's more so, I mean, if the sink is stainless is, it's been around, so I'd say go for it. Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else? Oh, we have a lot of them. Okay, how about you?
Do you consider the exterior style? Like, my house is traditional, but I lean contemporary. So I'm kind of like, do I have to worry about the house being traditional when I decide?
Okay, and then so the question was, do you consider the outside of the house and the outside style of the house when you're considering the style of the kitchen? Like if you have a traditional exterior of the house, you feel like that it needs to match inside?
Yes. And that doesn't mean it has to be this full-on huge traditional kitchen. I mean, you could definitely go very transitional. That style is something that we consider between a contemporary and a traditional, right? Kind of something right down the middle of the road. I probably would not do a full-on modern contemporary kitchen in a very traditional exterior home. But at the same time, you have to do what you love, right? I mean, there are lots of rules that don't necessarily have to apply. We just need to have something that we love. So, but we would probably tend to guide you towards something a little down the middle. What do you guys think?
I think if you have a traditional exterior, naturally you'll have a little bit of a traditional interior as far as your moldings and, your doors, door styles and whatnot. So I don't think it's a problem to go a little bit more modern if that was your taste, but I say to create a flow in your house and make sure everything was cohesive, and that, if you have modern furniture, I think, there's a way to do it. So I don't think it has to be traditional, but you could definitely, like Laura said, be more streamlined, and just make sure everything is working with whatever is existing in the home.
Thank you, Kourtney. How about you, Michelle?
I think that's great. But then there's also ways to make your exterior maybe a little more modern, like really cool pots instead of something really traditional, or maybe a light landscaping. So there's ways to blend inside and outside.
Perfect. Perfect. What about other questions? Okay, how about you?
The panels came about 10 years. Is it still being utilized in used a lot of things?
Okay, and the question is that porcelain panels that we've seen coming around in the last 10 years or so, do you find that you're still using them in your projects?
We were just discussing this this morning. You wanna?
I think with porcelain, it's fragile. I would definitely, if you are using your kitchen and it's a high function space for you, I wouldn't recommend porcelain to my clients for the surfaces, just because they can chip, and it's kind of like glass too. If it cracks, like it's the whole thing has cracked. It's not just the one area. So I would recommend it maybe in a powder room or a bathroom where you're not lifting heavy pots and pans and things. Definitely on a backsplash, you could definitely use it. It's very cleanable. But I wouldn't personally recommend it on high use countertops.
Great answer. What about anybody else? Michelle or
And
Laura?
you need a really, really talented installer. We
Great
were
point.
talking
I love
about
that you brought up that
90-degree corners that need to be precision cut glass almost. And so I think that it's back when it's a nice option visually, but I wouldn't want to own it necessarily.
That's a great answer. It is. Porcelain is very beautiful. One thing you want to think about is that porcelain doesn't go all the way through. So it's just on, so that the design that you have is just on the surface, and underneath is porcelain. Think kind of like a plate. You know what I mean? Like if you chip a plate. So in relation to on your surface, you're not going to, you're going to definitely see a disconnect in relation to where you'd have like a chip or a crack and such.
It's not the most repairable, if not at all, material.
Yeah.
So
One area that what you might want to consider would be like a master bath. Like if you have a large wall that you want to panel.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, because it's just not going to get the wear and tear that you would have in a kitchen.
Most definitely.
And it's a thinner material than sticking a slab of stone on the wall. So it doesn't weigh as much, but you do have to have somebody who really knows what they're doing as far as installations.
Great point.
And I think economically too, it's not really any less expensive than a decent countertop material because of the labor.
Right.
For installation, so.
Great answer. Great answer.
I think there are some good installers, they're becoming, because it is so new. There are a few that really know how to do it, but they're kind of far and few between right now.
So definitely you're saying do your shopping in relation to
Yes.
labor and formatting and such. Okay, perfect. And your question? Oh, that's a great question. So the question was in relation to sealants and grouts. I would assume with tile you're talking about. So like for backsplash or floors, what are your preferences and what are your choices?
I think every manufacturer now has a power grout type product where sealers are already embedded in the product,
Yeah,
which I think have you had good luck with it? I think we have, especially for like boys' bathrooms and they're not so tidy and,
Right.
and things like that. So
Great point.
It definitely is. It's one of those areas too, I think, with home maintenance that homeowners forget about. That sealing grout, especially if it's a light installation, white, off-white,
right.
that it is sealed from time to time. So I think the manufacturers have heard us and products have been improving in that
Mhm.
department.
Thank you, Michelle. I agree. How about you, Courtney? Okay, perfect. How about you, Laura? Do you have
I would
anything to say?
just say too, when you're sealing countertops, just make sure that if you're getting a matte finish or a glossy finish or a shiny finish. Just make sure what it's going to look like at the end. Some sealers will enhance the look of a stone, make it look darker or even almost wet.
Great
So you just
point.
need to make sure you're understanding what you're getting for the finished product.
Excellent. Oh, and you have more. Good. Oh, yay. Let's do it. Thanks, Craig. Oh, excellent. The question is, what about butcher block for countertops? Anybody want to start with that one or do you want to? I love butcher block.
I love it too. You just have to be careful of making sure that you're keeping it sanitary,
Mhm.
right? It can be a very porous product. You have to be careful what you're cutting and chopping and all of that good stuff. So, but I love it and it will patina. And I love that too.
I agree.
Mhm.
Michelle or Courtney, did you have anything to add?
No, same. I think it's lovely. I think
Okay.
that knowing maintenance ahead of time is important.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's a great material. It fits in quite lovely, especially in more traditional or transitional designs. I've never used it in anything really modern, but it's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah,
You just
well,
need to
now-
know.
I love that. I love that answer. And if you don't mind me asking, in relation to maintenance, how would you maintain it?
I mean, just obviously maybe not the first surface to decide to cut up 18 chicken breasts.
Right.
But if you do, just making sure that it's, like antibacterial from an antibacterial perspective, it's cleaned off. And then I have certain clients that depending on the type of species, they oil their,
Okay,
their,
excellent. Perfect.
but that's maintenance and they need to realize that
yeah.
beauty has to, it can only occur if you do baby them.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Craig, what's our next one? That was the main one? Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we go to the lightning round? Oh, perfect. What's your question? Okay. Oh, that's such a good question. I assume you're relating to cabinets then. Okay. So in relation to cabinets, if you're going to go with a wood stained cabinet and the wood hues, in relation to cherry and walnut, do they darken over time? And then how do the other, I don't know if I'm adding, I guess, in relation to maple and oak and quarter sawn oak, what do you find in relation to darkening or lightening or, if you could talk just a little bit about the different hues and how they age?
Any wood cabinet is going to age and darken, especially if you're going with a natural finish.
Perfect. Do you find that cherry and walnut darken? Or do you find that
Yeah, they will get a little bit, especially a cherry will get a little more red and
Or how
Yeah.
much sunlight they might get.
Mhm.
Like, yeah.
Okay, okay, perfect. And then would you mix a painted cabinet with a stained cabinet in relation to, like, would you be mixing the painted and the stained together? Are you finding that in your projects?
Definitely, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
It's fun to mix and match.
And then in relation to the oaks, are you like traditional oak seems like it's kind of coming back in. Are you finding clients are asking for that? I know it was very in for a while and then it kind of wasn't. And then a quarter sawn kind of came in, which I know is very strong, but I know the price point is higher on it. Are you finding that people are going back to, are you seeing people asking for oak cabinets again?
White oak, maybe more than red
White
oak.
oak.
White oak?
definitely.
Okay, perfect.
And then
Perfect.
cleaner grain, most of my clients.
What about in relation to stain? Are they asking for a darker stain or more clear?
On a white oak,
Yeah, yeah,
I would say more clear. They
perfect.
want that more natural, lighter.
California
feel,
look.
California.
Good.
yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Did that answer your question? Perfect. And what, okay. And what about yours? Mhm. Mhm. So the question was, if you had a red floor, like a wood floor that was red, do you have to rip them out, or is there some kind of way that you can work with them to kind of remove some of that red so that it wasn't a predominant color, so that you can mix some of the colors?
I just learned this actually more recently. Redid a country club that definitely had unattractive red oak floors. And now that's not the trend. So there is a product called a pink blocker, and it's a undercoat underneath the stain that blocks out some of those tones. So a pink blocker is what we used so they were sanded
Nice.
down, the pink blocker was applied, and then we stained over that, and it really killed down some of the color that wasn't appealing for this particular job.
Oh, great answer. Anybody else before we start the lightning round?
Yeah, PINK.
Okay, excellent. And you said, what was it called again, Michelle?
It was called a pink blocker. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a
it-
pink
it
blocker. For
basically-
those of you at home, pink blocker, if you want to take the red out of your redwood floors. So, perfect. Any other questions before we start the lightning round? Sure. So the question was, could you use the pink blocker on cabinets as well as flooring, or is it just primarily for flooring?
I would think that it would also work, but a lot of labor would be involved to make sure that you got down to a level that accept products.
Yeah, would absorb it, where you
On
could
it,
get the
so
grain to hold it.
lots of
Sanding.
Lots of masks,
Yeah. It'd be laborious.
but I'd love to see if it works.
Yeah, I would too. It's interesting. I hadn't heard of that before. That's cool. Anybody else? Okay, well, now we're gonna start the lightning round. And so all of our designers have their paddles. And so what we're just gonna kind of do is we're going to kind of quickly go through a list of most recent, some very recent, some maybe, you know, like right at the top of the trend, and maybe some that are getting ready to kind of maybe go to bed for the next decade or so. And we're just gonna I'm gonna shout them out, and then they're just gonna put up their panel and let you know what they think. And again, at the end, if you have any questions, let us know. But this will kind of give you an idea of kind of what's been on trend, what's really kind of at high trend, and then what might be kind of maybe something that you might want to just maybe reconsider, just because it could be going out a little bit. So are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, yay, perfect. Okay, first one is all white kitchens. Okay, so from Michelle, and I'm just gonna stand up for a minute. I want to be able to see. So from Michelle says she likes all white kitchens. Kourtney is all white kitchens. And then Laura says dislike. Laura, why do you dislike all white kitchens?
It's just a matter of taste. There's nothing wrong with the white kitchen at all.
Yeah,
But just as a designer, I am like the color person.
perfect. No, I hear you. I'm with you.
I don't do very many just white kitchens.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. I like it.
Stand
You're
by your
standing out on
answer.
your own. Perfect. Okay, and then the next one is grass cloth wallpaper in kitchens. Like from Laura. A like from Kourtney, and totally disgusting from Michelle.
Wise, just maintenance and not wanting to field phone calls with repairs.
Okay, I hear you. So you think it looks good, but you think it's high maintenance. So I like it. You like it, but it could be totally disgusting. Depending on how you cook.
On having to field, phone calls because somebody spilled this or that.
Perfect, perfect. Now here's one. Oh wait, I think my battery died. So sorry. I can use mine now. Here, I could use Laura's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, everybody here? Excellent. Okay. The next one is, and this is something we talked about before, farmhouse sinks. Okay, Laura says like, Kourtney says like, and Michelle says like. So we agree on that, farmhouse sinks, and they are absolutely lovely. They really are. And then the next one we have is, and we talked about this a little bit, but not really. We talked about surfaces a lot. How about waterfall countertop surfaces on islands or peninsulas? Obsessed with it. Oh, I love that, Kourtney. Like and dislike. Laura, explain yourself.
More of a trend thing, and I'm not a trend person, but right now is what I'm hearing.
Okay, perfect. And Michelle, I didn't see yours. Crazy in love. Oh, I like that. Obsessed with and crazy in love. Yeah,
Fun when done right,
I agree.
but I agree. They can be very trendy. It's a
They're
look.
trendy, but they are
I would
dressy.
do it
Yes.
everywhere.
It's kind of like a tuxedo look. So if you like it, it's kind of one of those things.
I've done them for
In a
sure.
Really busy kitchen.
Yeah.
And lots
Yeah.
of kids, sometimes it just helps protect at
Oh,
least two
great.
sides of a.
I had never thought about that. Like if you had somebody and then if you're going to have cleats or somebody's going to be running a skateboard into it, or I mean, something like that, then, obviously that'd be kind of nice because you have the hard surface there versus the wood. I like it. Okay. The next one is copper accents. Totally smitten. Oh, I love that. Laura's totally smitten. Kourtney says like, and Michelle says like. Okay, so we're all about copper. I like that too. That sounds great.
It's
Now the-
strange, a material that is antibacterial too, so for a copper
Oh,
sink.
great
or
point.
handles, it has
Oh.
antibacterial properties.
I love that. I just learned that. Thank you. That's perfect, Michelle. Okay, now our next one is clear stained maple cabinets. So a clear stain on a maple cabinet. Dislike, like,
Not
dislike,
clear,
like.
Yeah, not clear.
Not
but
clear.
Yeah.
like
Okay.
glaze.
Okay, so you would say that on the maple that it would get a little bit yellow.
Yeah, maple tends to.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I've seen that
A
trend.
little too Scandinavian.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So dislike for Laura and then Kourtney is kind of like feeling kind of meh about it. You like the maple, but you would like to see a little more color in the stain. How about you, Michelle?
Yeah, maybe glazed.
Glazed.
Yeah,
Okay.
some
Okay. And glazed is definitely a time we're hearing everything. Glazed nails, glazed skin, glazed cabinets. I like it.
Donuts.
Donuts. That's exactly right. And they're yummy. Okay. And then our next one is porcelain countertops, which we talked a lot about. Oh, I like all dislike. So that's a clear message. And I would agree with that too. Backsplash, great, but countertops, no, thank you. Okay, excellent. And what about intentional mosaic backsplashes? Ooh, yuck. By Kourtney and dislike by Michelle and dislike by Laura, all of you. So you do not want to see a picture of a rooster in your backsplash. Okay, okay,
There are
good.
other ways that are a little more timeless to show your flair.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Thank you. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. And then what about the next one is floating and or open shelves in your kitchen. Laura likes.
I'm in between.
Kourtney's kind of meh.
I
She's
think
in
it depends on
between.
the client too.
And Michelle
If
says
they
like.
have Pig pens, not the best option to have all that out.
Okay, okay, no, that's a great point. And I agree with that. And so then would you also go that way, Michelle? And I guess I could ask the whole panel with in relation to glass front cabinets. Okay, so glass front cabinets would be so you feel that would be kind of conditional to the client?
Definitely.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And then what about cabinets without hardware? So like a slab cabinet that doesn't have any hardware that might have either like a push to open mechanism, finger pulls or electric. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Perfect. That is a really nice clean look. Anybody have any comments on that? Or, because I've seen that more and more. That seems to be a trend right now, you know, and then with the J poles and all of that.
Or like a touch latch.
A touch
situation.
latch,
I don't
yeah.
love it on the back of an island because I think kids' knees are
Oh, okay.
opening and
Oh,
closing
great
all day
point.
long.
Yeah.
Not smart. And then when somebody does have a situation where they're not grabbing it hard, where they need to understand, then they're touching their cabinets.
Yes.
So sometimes not the
Yes.
best in a kitchen, but maybe in a.
Maybe if you had an
maybe-
acrylic or if you had versus like a wood or something so that you weren't worrying about the finish as much, something you could take Windex to. Okay, perfect. Excellent. And then how about, oh, this is a good one. Overhead pot racks. I happen to know someone who has an overhead pot rack that they have put away and that they're wondering if maybe at some point now or in the future, they can bring it back up and hang their pots over their island. Just saying. And the right.
I don't know. Yeah. I think that's
Okay.
Right. I would recommend it off the bat.
Okay, Laura says like, Kourtney says, ooh, yuck, no, thank you. And Michelle says like, or she's kind of 50-50. Michelle's kind of yeah on that.
Same. It has to be the right.
Okay, so that would be dependence. That would be kind of like a statement piece and it has to be done right, maybe? Okay,
And like only the best looking
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So, you know, a Target pancake pan maybe isn't gonna go up on the rack.
right. No,
A little
that's great.
copper Pot, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. So it has to be, it has to be curated correctly in order for it to look right. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. And then the next one is butcher block countertops, which we talked about a little bit. Like, oh, everybody likes butcher block. Okay, perfect. Any place you would not want to see butcher block or any way, I know you said in relation to like, if you're going to do a lot of like raw food cooking, or is there any place where you would come into a client's home and they would tell you about their process and you would say that would not be a surface for them? Okay, Laura, can you expand on that a bit?
Definitely just not for prepping a lot of meat. Yeah, just
Okay.
making sure that it's, I don't know, where would it be good?
It's good in a lot of areas. I think they just need to realize that if they have a decent sized kitchen,
Yeah.
don't do those
Don't do your
types of
meat
things
there.
there.
Okay, so maybe have like a dedicated area where you would have something that you could clean and make sure that you kept it sanitary.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I love that. Thank you. And then the next one is, oh, this is a really good one. What do you think about laminate countertops? We haven't even talked about that. And I know somebody must have laminate. I have some laminate countertops. So I'm just going to admit I have some quartz countertops and I have some laminate countertops. So totally disgusting. Dislike. No, I'm so do you think there's any time when a laminate countertop would be advantageous?
Maybe in commercial settings.
Okay.
done in, like, apartment complexes,
Okay.
stuff like
How do
that.
you feel about Corian? That's one of the things we haven't talked about. Corian is not really a laminate and it's not really a stone, like it is a full polymer. What do you guys think about Corian?
I don't mind a pure white Korean in a really modern contemporary setting. I think there's definitely a place for that,
Okay.
especially if you can do an integrated sink.
I love that too.
Mhm.
What about you, Kourtney? What do you think?
Too much of a fan, but when done right, I guess I need it in the right application. it can work.
Okay. What do you think, Michelle?
I think I would just go quartz at
Yeah.
that point.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, excellent. Okay, perfect. Good. So I think that definitely we would say that that laminate countertops are kind of over the bell curve. They're over the side there. So the next one we have is faux finishes on cabinetry and or kitchen walls. Strong hatred. I love it. Ew, yuck, and dislike. Okay. All right. So again, if you have any, at the end, we're going to have a couple questions. So you're welcome to ask some questions at the end. But I would have to agree with that too. I think in a kitchen, it's so hard. Yeah, it just makes it almost functional. You couldn't cook in there. Okay. And then, oh, this is another one because this is something that I just took down recently, but I have been wanting to put back up is word art in kitchens. I am super wordy, as you can see. And like I had word art and I took it down. Oh my gosh, yay. So I did the right thing. Dislike for Laura, dislike for Kourtney, and dislike and Michelle, totally disgusting. Okay, perfect. Well, I did, no, I did. I had a bunch of words up on my cove ceiling and I took them down. After reading like some articles, I thought I need to take these down, but I've been missing them. So I'm not gonna put them back up. I'll just have to put them in my journal. Yeah, pardon?
You
Don't,
absolutely love them. You should.
no.
It's your
Well,
kitchen.
I think I'm okay with them. I can go without. You have to kind of get with the times a little bit, you know? So, and then now this is another one that we talked about is speckled granite, such as Ubatuba. I 100% agree. So I'm not even gonna ask any more questions about that, but I will say that I feel like I walked through Ubatuba for years and years and years, and I felt sometimes like I was surrounded by it. It seemed like it was like definitely the darling of the 90s. So,
I have used a stone similar to Ubatuba though.
yeah.
Leathered outside in the kitchen that turned out really nice. But
Oh,
it
I
was
can
definitely
imagine that
more
would be pretty.
homogeneous. It kind of had hazes of brown and black.
So then I have another question then that I'm going to ask because I'm wondering. So if you had like, let's say you had Ubatuba and you had a lot of it, like you were moving into a house, can you leather it? Like, and is that worth doing or is that just too laborious? Because I like a honed or a leathered finish. I really love that look. And so in a deep, and I like a dark, like I like a deep granite or a deep quartz. Is there a way to successfully hone or change that finish rather than have the shiny finish? Could you have a honed
Honed,
or
but not
hewn,
leather.
but not leathered? Okay.
And I mean, they have sell products, but I would do it. I would not do it on my own.
No, but there
I
are
have
granite
seen it
companies
done
that you can ask for
successfully,
that.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so rather than taking out all of that granite, if you had it, that Ubatuba granite, then you could hone it and then make it look a little more contemporary. If money was in, like if you
Yeah.
were looking to save money. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then what about, and then we talked a lot about this, but I'm still gonna ask quartzite. Just because we're kind of finishing everything up. Oh. Crazy in love, like. Okay, perfect. And I agree too. Quartzite's absolutely gorgeous. And being that it's the strongest, I think it's wonderful. And I love the way that it patina's like marble does. So perfect. Okay. And then my last one is, and this is a good one. How about mixing patterns in kitchens? Like rather than keeping everything monochromatic, can you mix patterns? Like from Laura.
I mean, like,
Yeah, like finishes or patterns or, oh, perfect. So you don't have to keep everything monochromatic. It doesn't have to be all one color and it doesn't have to be all one texture. And you can do, like behind your stove, you could do porcelain and then behind your counters, could you do tile, like in relation to backsplash? Can you mix like that? Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That's perfect. Now what about any questions from the audience? Ah, good. What's your question? Good question. The question is, when we're talking about faux finishes, are we talking about faux woods? Or are we talking about like faux glazes or paints or that kind of application? What is it that you dislike?
I took that question as like faux painted walls.
That's
Or like really DIY kind of looking stuff.
okay.
So
Kind of like rag
I would
rolled
say
or,
no.
okay.
Keep that for somewhere else, but and then you want your kitchen to be really durable too. So sometimes those are not the most durable finishes, especially when they're done by homeowners because they're not using the right products to seal them. So I would say
Okay.
hard
Perfect.
pass.
Perfect. What about any other questions? Do we have any other questions? No? Okay, what's your question? Yeah, shout them out. Good question. How do you feel about appliances on the countertop? Ah, okay. So rather than having them on the countertop, like if you have an air fryer or if you have a smart or those like a hot pot, or if you have an air popper or whatever, or like a toaster, where would you like to see those appliances? Or where, like, what would you say? What are some of the options for storing them away so that they're not on the countertop?
if you're renovating a space, you could always create an appliance garage, but also I have a client that has a designated space in her pantry. So it's right at counter height and she doesn't have to bend over to pick anything up. and it's right at eye level. So, yeah, and it's tucked away, not under counter. They don't, coffee machine, I mean, that's something that, sure, you can leave that on your, in a visible in sight, but air fryers and, toasters, and you want that all put away.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you. Yes, please.
Can you talk about the timeline, long it takes?
Okay, the question is, can our panel talk about the timeline of a complete renovation from start to finish? How long do you see that taking with your projects?
Wow. I think the most successful projects are ones that are well planned. So, whether you're working with a contractor and a cabinet shop and your own trades, everyone has a schedule. Everyone knows when they start gutting your kitchen now, and when your floors get attacked, and when your cabinets come in, and when the countertop guy comes. I mean, all that should be well planned out, or you can look at adding months and months to a project. So I like to keep a very tight timeline and check up on people to make sure they're on time and things are moving forward. More communication is better than not enough. So it could take a while, but I think you just have to plan it out.
Yeah, lately, with some of the COVID issues that we've had, we have appliances that are taking a year to come in right now. But typically you can plan on sort of a design phase up front with your designer of, it could be anywhere from a month to 2 or 3 months of planning, picking out all of your appliances and your countertops and meeting with your cabinet person. All of that planning can take a few months. And then once you get on a contractor schedule, you're looking at another 3 to 6 months probably. And that's just very kind of generic. It can go one way, can go this way a little bit, take more time or a little less time, but it's definitely going to be a six months to a year from planning to install.
Great
And with
answers.
some of our supply chain issues.
Yeah, then there's always
Yeah.
surprises, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
for
didn't
sure.
know the sink was rotted, and then that needs to be
Right.
approached. So I just think go in with a very zen attitude.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah,
It's a process.
So
Yeah, most definitely. Take your time. Months. How about you, Kourtney? What are you finding with your projects? Do you find timeline to be the same or?
Yeah, and it just depends on your cabinet lead time too. So you're obviously not going to gut your space if your cabinets are not in yet. It depends. I mean, it could be you're doing semi-custom or fully custom. Fully custom is obviously going to take much longer to come in. And then, like Michelle said, you keep that timeline. So once your cabinets are in, then you start the, gutting your space. And then, you kind of just go through and make, keep on top of your trades and whoever's on the project.
So then leading to that, I love that you said trades and on your project. What do you think about hiring project managers? Like, what is your thought? I know a couple of people doing projects are in relation to their trades and such. I know there's like sometimes besides having a designer, which is of course the most important thing to have when you're doing your kitchen, but in relation to the trades and such, rather than managing your contractors yourself, do you find that working with a project manager is advantageous? Have you found yourself in that situation where you've worked with a project manager, and do you find it to be something that you enjoy and think is good in relation to the timeline?
I mean, I think it takes a team. So yeah,
Okay.
You definitely need, a project manager with, that works for, say I'm working with a GC and it's their project manager, I'm still going to check up on the project, but it's a team. I do need their help.
Great
You
answer.
can't do it alone. So
Thank you.
yeah.
What about you, Michelle?
yeah, I think new construction is a different beast. We tend to do more new construction than anything else. So
Okay.
obviously you have your whole team set up and
Sure.
everything plays nice and certain things are your responsibility, but then other things are not. And then you get into renovation work where there is a general contractor involved that
Right.
you're part of a team. And then there are other projects where we GC ourselves.
Excellent.
So, it all comes with different headaches.
No, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Laura? What do you find with that?
I was just
In
gonna
relation to new construction or in relation to an existing project within a home that's been built? Typically, either the builder or the general contractor will be a really key project manager. And then we come in also as sort of a second management tool at that point. Excellent. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Perfect. What's your question? Okay, the question is there a standard order of operation in relation to planning and designing a project?
So do you mean like if you're renovating your whole kitchen, kind of where do you start? Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
synopsis.
Yeah, yeah. I know that we typically start with the cabinets. Like that's kind, obviously we do the floor plan, and if there's anything moving or changing, we get that all settled. And then for us, our next step is always to pick out the cabinets. And then from there, we pick out countertops and plumbing and, so your sink and your faucet kind of comes last. But that's just the way we do it. I think there's probably more than one way.
I think
Anybody
a
else?
huge part of our process as designers is being good listeners. So it depends on the client. If you think you're gonna baby step into a project and just say, okay, I love my kitchen. It's probably falling apart, but I don't want to budget for that right now. How about new hardware? And I just did a project actually where we gussied up a kitchen. It wasn't at all horrible. It was definitely, it wouldn't be something I would have designed from scratch, but it was also a 15-year-old kitchen. So it was totally fine. We gussied it up, and then she had some water damage. And we got to gut it.
Oh,
We
cool.
got to use the hardware and lighting that we selected. So it's
Nice.
like, I know. But I think a huge part of it is just listening to what our clients' prerogatives are, and then try to guide them in the best way to spend their money.
Perfect. Excellent. And what about you, Kourtney?
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. I definitely think it depends on how much you want to do. Is it a full renovation, or are you just looking to freshen up your kitchen? And then, what's your budget? And then we can kind of, pick things out based on that direction.
Then I have one question. What about appliances? When do they come? So like in relation to when you're putting your design together, do you prefer the appliances? Like where do they come in relation to? Do they come first or towards the end, or?
For us, they're one of the first things.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
once we
Perfect.
find out where they're going and how much space has been, applied for each appliance, then we pick those out right away.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a great answer, Laura.
Yeah, and you can have a baby before you can get an appliance sometimes, right?
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Pre-planning.
great
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. That's a great analogy. Okay. And what about your question? So the question is, are you putting in more induction stoves? Are you finding that in your designs? And what's the feedback you're getting from the clients in relation to their functionality? Okay.
We haven't seen too many requests for that yet, but I know it's coming. It is coming. I think I have one client maybe that we've done that, and they love it. They love it. I mean, it heats up super fast. I mean, so that's all I can say on that. I don't know too much about it. It needs, I think we're going to be all learning a lot more about it.
And new pans.
And new
Right.
pans.
And new pans.
Yes.
Induction stoves come with new
Yes.
pans.
Yeah, you can't use
So-
a normal pan.
Yeah, I've only done one in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But I think it's amazing technology.
Can you guys, does anybody mind describing? And if not, then we can talk about it later. Like kind of how an induction stove works, just for anybody who doesn't know what that is, or, like how it works.
Yeah, I'm
Do you
not
know how it
exactly
works?
sure, but you do need to have a set. pan,
Yeah,
pots and
I know
pans.
there's magnets
And-
involved
and
and
then
that it's
hot
electric.
to the touch, I think.
Right, exactly.
Kids and cats.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't really know. I've only done
Okay.
one.
Okay, excellent. Well, there we go. At least that's worth. Sure. Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm. So the question was, first, there was a comment that you can use, that you just can't use glass on the induction, but you can use some of the other metals on the induction. So we all learn new things. And then but the main question was, are you guys seeing a lot of double ovens in your design?
Yes and no. I would say clients tend to want like a wider range oven. That's, has a larger space, but not double ovens.
Okay,
Just
good.
that look, no,
Interesting.
not in my.
I feel like that's kind of going away too, a little bit.
Okay, okay,
Or
great.
or in those second kitchens.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
There's
so the
extra
sort of
baking
utility
done there.
kitchen kind of thing, or the sculleries. You're finding them more in the sculleries. Perfect. And Craig, you said you had a question. Okay, the question is, where do you like to see leather finishes in kitchens or baths?
Barstools? Or maybe
Like, is this leathered surfaces, like a leathered surface, or is it actual leather? I'm just asking. Yeah, like leathered, since we were talking about them, I don't know if that's like a leathered, talking about a leathered granite or a leathered marble, or if we're talking about actual leather.
Yeah, any countertop.
Okay, so
Yeah.
any countertop. And then in relation to your bar stools and such, are you still finding leather to be,
Sometimes
okay,
for some people, but just like
Okay.
a leather handbag, it doesn't come without its issues with staining and
okay,
durability, scratching.
okay, perfect. Then I think we probably answered it both ways then. Great, thank you so much. Any other questions? And your question, sir? Right. So the question is that lately in the media, there's been some controversy regarding natural gas stoves. Does anybody have any comments on that, or have they heard any feedback, or what's your thoughts?
So I think that was sort of related to the induction stove as well. And it has definitely been in the media a lot. Something I feel like I need to just study up on. I don't have an opinion at this point because I haven't studied it enough, but
So new.
it's very new. And I do think it's going to be coming up more and more. So
Kourtney, have you had any?
I'm not sure what the controversy is in regards to. I mean, I know I've heard it, but I really.
Just
haven't looked
about
into it.
emissions, like they're talking about
Oh,
emissions
okay.
from the natural gas. That's been some of the controversy. It's been a controversy that's been just in the media
just
recently.
very recently.
Yes, you're on the cutting edge, sir. That's new, new news. So I don't know. I know I have a gas stove that I absolutely love. I hate to think about giving it up, but
I think dual fuel ranges
yeah,
tend to be
yeah.
the most popular.
and I
but
love that with an
people use
electric
their
oven and
ranges.
yes, they're wonderful. I agree. Let's see if I had a couple. So we had one more question that again, I know somebody had asked, that kind of goes back. We asked it a little bit, but just kind of, I think it's a kind of a good thing to close on unless there's any other questions. Do you have any other questions, Craig, online? Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand. I apologize. What's your question? Okay. Oh, that's a good question. So this is, this young lady has northeast exposure in her ranch, her 1950s ranch. And so she's asking for color suggestions in relation to walls or cabinets or walls. So wall colors. What are you finding like in a ranch? Smaller space are we talking about? Okay, so a smaller kitchen. Would you go with lighter colors or deeper colors or?
Probably lighter, but I think it's how it affects the environments around it too. Like I
Okay.
like flow, like Kourtney said about flooring.
I like that too.
Anything open where you don't close a door. I like to have, like, we call the spine color. So it's the color that bridges the gap and is your main paint color. So I would rather see it more homogeneous with the rooms around it personally.
Well, it sounds like that's something definitely to think about. One of the things I'll tell you is that all of our designers, on the website, you have all of their names. So if that's, like if you're looking for professional advice in relation to that, I'm sure that's something that you could call about, and, you always can retain a designer for that reason. One of the nicest things about having a designer is having that expert opinion and being able to know that when you're putting your project together, that you're making a really mindful choice. So you're not going to have to redo. You have what you like. So we're so lucky to have been able to have this time with these extremely talented designers, and very much appreciate it. I'm just going to close on this last question, because like I said, I know that some of the, just to close, can you each tell us something that a client insisted on getting for their kitchen that ended up being kind of overrated, like something that was a must have in the beginning of the project, and then at the end they thought I would have done something else, like something, because there's so many things like pot fillers, like sink systems, like coffee bars, like things like wine chillers, and is there like something that you would pick instead? Or
Hot filler is a good one.
okay,
I've heard that from more than one client.
okay,
You know,
that they put a pot filler in, and then
and that just, they didn't use
Okay.
it like they thought. They didn't use it as much.
okay.
And that you're still carrying a heavy pot of water from one place to the sink, right?
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for answering that, Laura. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it. How about you, Courtney?
I'll have to think on that one.
Okay.
Or you mean in regards to pot fillers?
It
Or
could be
just
regards to part fillers or something else. Okay. Okay,
just
that's
likes
okay.
everything perfectly. She does.
Oh, that's
No
awesome.
mistakes.
Yes,
Well, I think they're a great, just a look.
An aesthetic.
So an
They are a
aesthetic,
beautiful
even if you don't
aesthetic.
use it, it looks really beautiful. So,
Yeah, yeah. I like that. That's a
Yeah.
great question. Thank you. Yes.
Not to have a whole
Great
conversation about
panel.
pot fills, but if you don't use it, it will create a problem. Because
Okay.
the line gets dry, and it's same to go with, like, people get really excited about all new when they're starting to design new. And if you're not gonna use your cold or hot water dispenser, like, it's just another hole in a cabinet and you're having to pay for a faucet. But if you don't use those things often, the plumbers will tell you it's the first thing that will end up leaking.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I literally had a job where a client bought a house, beautiful new house, and we were just there to furnish. But the kitchen, she was like, "Do you think there's something wrong with the pot fill?" And there was no water to it. It was just
Oh,
for
no.
look. So
It was just for like
like
aesthetics.
So now we're just
Oh,
That's
like the builder forgot to.
yeah.
put it with
Yeah,
the
right.
plumber.
To plumb it. They didn't plumb the wall.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's interesting. So fascinating. Okay, so before we kind of wrap up, did anybody have any other questions for our esteemed panel? Okay, first I want to give a round of applause. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much, Courtney. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for coming and taking your time to answer our questions. And also, I just want to let you know, there are showrooms who are waiting for you to come and visit. If you want to, in the Design Center kitchen showrooms, there's EW Kitchens, Gardner Kitchens, there's other showrooms that are looking for that. Also, we have a beautiful cafe called the Kosh Cafe. You're welcome to go in there and have lunch. They're open until 3 o'clock, and they have delicious soups, sandwiches, salads. Also, we have some more events coming up on March 8th. We have the International Women's Day, a great event where they're going to have all different women-focused products, women-focused designers. That should be very fun. On March 22nd, we have a little mini session in the Resource Center with Waterstone faucets and Wolverine cabinets, which and especially if you're here for kitchens, that's very pertinent. And then also on March 24th, we have another launch event like this event, and it's called Be Brave Enough to Be Boldly You, which I think is great too. I'm brave enough to do that with my Bolero red kitchen.